How did you get into Bitcoin?
Honestly, I didn't see the vision myself either. When I first heard about Bitcoin, I was a little skeptical myself because I kind of wanted to poke holes in it. I was super skeptical and I was going to learn a little bit about it so I could tell them, look, this is why it's a scam. This is why it's bullshit. This is why it's a bad investment. And the more I looked into it, the more I researched it, the more it made sense for me and it just clicked.
You called it Bitcoin's birthday.
Tomorrow is when Bitcoin was conceived, and then its birthday is actually in January. So the white paper, which explains Bitcoin or announced Bitcoin, was released October 31st, 2008. But the first Bitcoin wasn't actually mined into existence or produced until January 3rd, 2009. So its birthday, I guess, would actually be January 3rd, but tomorrow was when Bitcoin was actually...
Got you. So like the internet got pregnant tomorrow and then actually gave birth in January. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Satoshi Nakamoto.
Satoshi Nakamoto.
Why do people say that this person invented Bitcoin?
So as far as we know, that is who created Bitcoin. But of course, man, nobody actually knows who that is. It could be a single person, a single individual. It could be a group of people, group of coders that came up with Bitcoin. It could be the government, the CIA, for all we know.
Call ATM, call ATM, call ATM, call ATM, call ATM, call.
What is going on, everybody? This is the Call ATM podcast. Of course, you know it's your boy Tay Crew. Call ATM stands for Conversations About Life and Legacy to Amplify the Message. And this is a special episode. This is lucky number 7, everybody. This is the episode where we interview a Bitcoin millionaire. Now, I'm going to let him introduce himself, but this is a man who needs no introduction. On Bitcoin's birthday, when this podcast is being recorded, somehow by the grace of God, we got him here. And today's about education, about helping people who want to escape the matrix. And so go ahead and introduce yourself, bro.
My name is Corey, Lone Wolf Moon Boy, and I am a Bitcoiner. Have been for almost a decade, and I am happy to be here, man.
Let's go, bro. Thank you so much, man. I know your time is extremely valuable. I'm somebody who, I'm not going to lie to you, bro. I heard about Bitcoin in 2011. I don't remember who I heard about it from, but I don't know. I guess I was one of those people who didn't see the vision like you. Can you kind of help people understand, like, how did you get into Bitcoin?
Honestly, I didn't see the vision myself either. And to be truthful, when I first heard about Bitcoin, I was a little skeptical myself. I was like, yeah, Bitcoin, whatever, right? And one of my coworkers kept trying to tell me about it. And so I started researching it myself because I kind of wanted to poke holes in it. I was super skeptical and I was going to learn a little bit about it so I could tell them, look, this is why it's a scam. This is why it's bullshit. This is why it's a bad investment. And the more I looked into it, the more I researched it, the more it made sense for me. And it just clicked, man.
Just clicked, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, man, I obviously, you're laughing last, right? Because like you won and it's so crazy because like I'm still trying to wrap my mind around like what the heck is Bitcoin? For people who are like me, who have like zero knowledge, but I've heard the word before. What is Bitcoin?
So unfortunately, a lot of people still look at it as almost like the stock market, which it kind of can be perceived like that. But a lot of people still just think of it as like an investment vehicle to earn more dollars when really it is its own money. It's just an alternative to our current financial system. It is a different form of money. A lot of people like to refer to it as freedom money, right? It's just a type of money that the government has no legal authority over. It's not controlled by any government institution or a single banking entity, right? They can't control it. They can't confiscate it. They can't freeze it. The IRS can't come to you and say, look, we see you have this much Bitcoin. You own this much taxes, and we're going to do you a favor and take it off your hands.
Oh my. So no garnishing of Bitcoin, no garnishing of wages. Bro, that is absolutely amazing. And correct me if I'm wrong, but like you literally pay all your bills with Bitcoin. Is that correct?
I do. Yeah. So it's a little tricky. I mean, it's getting a little easier as, the adoption curve is growing, right? More and more businesses and companies are adopting Bitcoin. They're making it part of their financial process, right? So for the past few years, it was kind of tricky to incorporate Bitcoin into my finances and everyday, life. But now it is getting easier for sure.
Man, that's inspiring. And so, okay. So let's say somebody just like me, because I do want to, by the way, but wants to get into Bitcoin and has no knowledge of this right now. What's my first step?
So definitely understanding it a little bit is going to be a huge step, in my opinion. I mean, plenty of people can just jump the gun, jump on Coinbase or crypto.com or something like that and just start buying Bitcoin and different crypto assets, which is fine. But it is definitely a huge benefit to understand it a little bit so you don't get shaken out during these, times of volatility where the price drops a little bit. And in your mind, you're going to think you're losing money because you bought it, when it was $20 and now it's $15. So you lost $5, right? But you really didn't lose anything until you've actually sold it at the loss. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay. So, wait. So the only time when you would lose, so if Bitcoin is in a bear market and it dives down and you don't sell, eventually that money, it didn't go anywhere. It's still there and it'll go back up. And your best advice is to not panic sell like people do in the stock market and just keep it.
Now, I wouldn't say advice because I'm not here to give any financial advice.
It's
right?
an important thing. Okay.
NFA. But because, there is volatility and, it's almost always going to fluctuate back up to where it came from. And so as long as you don't sell it for a loss, you didn't really lose any money because you still have that same amount of Bitcoin, right? And like I said, Bitcoin is the new paradigm of money. It is its own money. And you're really not buying Bitcoin, you're selling fiat, right? If you don't know what fiat is.
I literally don't. Look at me. I have no idea. I have no idea what that is.
Fiat is just traditional money, right? Paper dollars.
Okay.
The US dollars, right? What we see as our current money is fiat money.
Okay.
So.
Okay. That's wild. Okay. So, as we kind of mentioned in our opening, I mean, tomorrow, when this podcast is being recorded, tomorrow is actually, you called it Bitcoin's birthday. Dive in a little bit deeper in that. Like, when did Bitcoin become a thing? Like, how do we know it's its birthday tomorrow?
So I actually like to joke about tomorrow is when Bitcoin was conceived, and then its birthday is actually in January. And I'll explain that real quick. So the white paper, which explains Bitcoin or announced Bitcoin, was released October 31st, 2008. So that's, just forget about it. October 31st, 2008. But the first Bitcoin wasn't actually mined into existence or produced until January 3rd, 2009. So its birthday, I guess, would actually be January 3rd, but tomorrow was when Bitcoin was actually...
Got you. So like the internet got pregnant tomorrow and then actually gave birth in January. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Bet. That's wild.
I may have overdone that one a little bit, but yeah.
That's crazy. And so, all right, now this has been, because, I knew you were going to be coming on. So I did a tiny little bit of research, but I'm probably going to butcher this name. But there's somebody named Yatoshi Yokomoto.
You got it,
how
man.
off was that?
So it was pretty close. It is Satoshi Nakamoto.
Satoshi. Okay. Who the heck is that, and why do people say that this person invented Bitcoin?
So as far as we know, that is who created Bitcoin. But of course, man, nobody actually knows who that is. It could be a single person, a single individual. It could be a group of people, group of coders that came up with Bitcoin and, created this pseudonym. Yeah. The pseudonym as like a decoy, right? So that none of them were really held accountable for Bitcoin. It could be the government, the CIA, for all we know. I don't think that's the case, but yes. So Satoshi Nakamoto is the creator of Bitcoin, but nobody actually knows who that is.
Really? That's some mysterious shit, bro. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but Bitcoin in the whole crypto space is kind of like a revolution. It's kind of like breaking yourself out of the matrix as you kind of coined it, right? I mean, so was there a time when these people this person needed to hide their identity, or why not just come out and say I invented Bitcoin? You'd probably be the most famous person in the world.
I mean, absolutely. That would make sense. But Bitcoin, like you said, is absolutely a revolution. And like we were just talking about, it's a form of money that the government has no legal authority over, right? They can't control it. They can't confiscate it. They can't freeze it. And when you have something that powerful that's going to be that impactful on the world, I mean, there's a lot of risk in that. That's the type of stuff that the government is going to blacklist you on. You're going to potentially have to be looking over your shoulder because it is something that it's something that the government is definitely not going to want, or they might even fear, because it's an alternative to their little Ponzi scheme that they have going on that the rest of the world is
participating in. Like the fact that we fought an entire war over like what I think it was 2% tax, right? Back in our country's inception.
The Boston Tea Party,
yeah,
right?
And then now if you look fast forward to the day, I'm paying sales taxes. I'm getting taxed on literally everything. And then at the end of the year, I pay taxes. And so, I mean, you know, it's one of those things where it's kind of like when you put a frog in a pot of boiling water, you start cranking it up slowly. Before you know it, the frog is cooked alive, right? Like, so Bitcoin is pretty much like the escape from that, because we all see Bitcoin millionaires driving Ferraris, Lamborghinis, all of that stuff. How does somebody actually use their Bitcoin to purchase a tangible item?
So, I mean, lots of different ways. Right now, the easiest way really is, again, participating in the matrix, being a part of the system. You're just going to cash your Bitcoin out for dollars, for fiat money in the banking system, and then use that money traditionally like you would any other way. But there are ways to use Bitcoin directly without participating in the traditional system. You kind of have to sidestep the financial rails that everybody uses today. But and it can be tricky, but there are ways to get around it for sure.
And as time goes on, it's probably getting easier and easier. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you bought a Tesla with your Bitcoin.
I did, absolutely. I'm a little upset about it now, but it was, back in 2021, Elon Musk announced, he was going to start accepting crypto payments at Tesla dealerships and stuff like that. And I was super excited about it, right? I was sitting on a pretty decent stack, and I went out and bought a Tesla for 1 Bitcoin. But now, I mean, if you can be patient and hodl, because we know where Bitcoin is ultimately going. It is deflationary, and as time goes on, it's only going to go up in value, especially being priced in dollars. But anyway, I was going to go off on a tangent. Current me doesn't care that past me had a Tesla, right? But at the time, I just wanted to go spend as much money as I could because I was feeling it. But I spent a whole Bitcoin on a car, but now I could buy that same car for half a Bitcoin, right? And as time goes on, like I said, it's deflationary. You'll be able to buy a Tesla with a quarter of a Bitcoin, then a tenth of a Bitcoin, then 0.001 of a Bitcoin, right? Because once you understand Bitcoin and its mathematical fundamentals, you know that it's ultimately going to millions, tens of millions of dollars, given the long enough time horizon.
Wow. So it can be difficult even spending a little bit of it, because then in 6 months you look back and you're like, that would have made me, thousands and thousands of dollars. So that's wild. Okay. So, I mean, there's a lot of different cryptos. Why is Bitcoin so special?
So, I mean, not only was Bitcoin the first crypto, a lot of people like to criticize, that Bitcoin is not a crypto. Bitcoin is its own. Let's not even go there. But Bitcoin is the only coin that is decentralized, deflationary. Basically every other crypto is centralized. There is a CEO. There's somebody that controls it, right? There's somebody at the top of the pyramid pushing the buttons, pulling the levers to their benefit, right? Mm-hmm. Bitcoin is the only one that is open sourced and is not controlled or ran by anybody.
Got you. So there's no chance that this Satoshi guy is secretly somewhere in the Virgin Islands, balling out, just going like bink, bink on his computer, and we just don't know. There's no chance of that.
I mean, anything's possible, right? So there is a chance, but it is not likely.
Not likely. Because correct me if I'm wrong, Bitcoin is one of those blockchains where like you can see how much Bitcoin everybody has. You just don't know who owns that Bitcoin wallet.
Correct. Yes, that is a great way to put it. So it's, like I said, it's open source, right? So you go on the Bitcoin blockchain, every single Bitcoin is accounted for and anybody can see it. You can see every Bitcoin wallet or account and how much is in one, like you just said, but you just don't know who owns it. So Gotcha. Your identity is anonymous, but every coin is accounted for. There's nothing missing, nothing lost.
So it's pocket watching times a billion. I mean, this is like the freaking epic level of watching pockets, right? Because there was a lot of people who like to watch people's pockets. You know what I'm saying?
This
and
is
like
true.
That is something that's crazy. So do you feel like people sit on their computers all day and wait for somebody to either buy or sell, and then that's when you want to get in when it's a bear market, right? So it kind of works the same way as the stocks.
A little bit, yeah. So like I said, it's a good way. It's not a good way, but it doesn't hurt to kind of look at it and analyze it the way you would the stock market. What hurts you is thinking that it's the stock market, right? And using it as an investment vehicle to earn more dollars, because what you want to do is convert your existing dollars to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the future money, right? It's almost like, back in the day, people were buying stuff with rat skins and chickens and stuff like that, right? And then someone came along with gold and they were like, what's this rock you're trying to buy your stuff with, right? I only take chickens here, right? But we know that gold is going to be the future of money. So I'm going to dump all my chickens and rat skins for this gold and then wait for that transition to happen. That's where we're at right now.
So it's not too late for somebody to get into this.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like I said, Bitcoin is ultimately going to millions, tens of millions of dollars per coin. And it's not about the dollar value that you have. It's just about having any amount of Bitcoin at all.
Really? So a lot of people who are interested in Bitcoin truly have to rewire their brains and stop thinking about Bitcoin like you would a dollar in a bank account, because it's something completely different. Now, you brought this book here today. Is this a great tool for somebody to start getting in who knows nothing like I don't?
Absolutely. I would say so. This is a book that I have referred plenty of people to over the years. Some of the wealthiest, biggest skeptics I've ever met who have been willing to take the time to look through this book, or even some people don't like to read, right? Even getting the audiobook, the Audible, giving it a listen. Once they've gone through this book and it clicks for them a little bit, I mean, like I said, some of the wealthiest skeptics that I've met were ready to convert as much of their assets and finances that they could to Bitcoin because it clicked for them. This helped them understand it. This is the future of money. And if you can be patient and are willing to wait out the transition of this revolution, I mean, you're going to be ahead of the rest of the world. A lot of people don't understand that only 5%. I mean, again, eventually the entire world is going to be using Bitcoin. And right now, only 5% of the planet is exposed to Bitcoin. So I know it seems like you might be late because it's already over $100,000. But if you can forget about the dollar value, you are ahead of 95% of the rest of the world right now, because it's not about the dollar value. It's just about having any amount of Bitcoin in your pocket at this time.
Wow. So, I know I was telling you kind of before the podcast started, listen, I truly believe that if you guys watch this and you actually read this book, you wait a little bit like he was saying, and you start investing in this now, which this is not financial advice like he said. This is a recommendation that I'm personally going to be doing. And I just feel like a lot of people are going to owe you, a huge thank you, right? Because you've been blowing my mind this whole podcast, even before the camera was turned on, with the vast amount of wealth and knowledge that you have. And I know that this is going to change somebody's life one day. And so, okay. So step number 1 is read this book, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
So understand what Bitcoin is. Step number 2, when somebody actually gets ready to purchase, there's a lot of different avenues. I know people are going to be like, I know Cash App does Bitcoin, or maybe, crypto, Coinbase or crypto.com. What's kind of the difference between the platforms, and does it have, how do you even get a crypto wallet to begin with?
So any of those platforms really are not any different from each other, right? You can start at Coinbase or crypto.com. It really doesn't matter. But ideally, you don't want to leave a lot of your crypto on those applications or exchanges, right?
Step number 1, like we talked about, reading the book, right? That's probably the base level. We do not we do not run before we walk. So step 1, read the book, understand how Bitcoin works, stop comparing it to the stock market. Step 2, that would be like actually getting a crypto wallet. And people know about stuff like Cash App, Coinbase, crypto.com. What's the difference in those platforms, and how should somebody get started getting their wallet?
Absolutely. So there's not much of a difference between those platforms. Coinbase has a little bit higher fees than crypto.com and vice versa, right? But as far as getting started at one of those platforms is really not any different than the other one. But I definitely wouldn't leave very much on either of those exchanges at any given time. And get yourself what's referred to as a cold wallet, right? And there's plenty of them out there. You don't have to get a shit. Goddamn. Get yourself definitely a cold wallet of some kind, and there's plenty of them out there. You don't have to get a specific one, but something where you can take your crypto off of the online platform.
I mean, I got a wallet right now, but it doesn't feel very hot or cold. What is a cold wallet for people who have no idea what that means?
Basically, so you were talking about wallets. Coinbase, your account is a wallet, right? Crypto.com, your account on there is a wallet, but that's a hot wallet. It's online, right? It can be accessed by the centralized exchange or platform, right? The CEO of Coinbase can go and lock your account, freeze your account, and you don't have access to those funds. But a cold wallet, something like this. So this is by Ledger, pretty well-known brand.
Will you show the camera that? Okay.
Oh shit!
So that looks just like one of those little hard drive things.
Like a flash drive.
Yeah,
right?
like a flash drive.
Which it essentially functions the same way. So you take your crypto off of the online account and put it on this, what can be considered like a flash drive. Cold wallet, it's offline now. No exchange, no platform, no application has access to your funds, right? It's almost like having your money buried in the backyard in a safe or something like that.
Wow. Okay. So, all right. So let's say that you get to the level where you now have a cold wallet, but now I need to go buy some milk at the store. So do I take my cold wallet, plug it into the computer, and then Coinbase just can see how much crypto I have or how much Bitcoin, and I can withdraw it from there? Or?
Not necessarily. Most cold wallets are, they work wirelessly, right? And you have applications on your phone, so you can transfer your funds from the cold storage to your hot wallet, your online application, where you can use those funds directly onto your debit card or whatever,
Okay. Dang. Okay. So you don't even, so once you get your Bitcoin from like a Coinbase or a Cash App, you put it on a cold wallet, then you have an app on your phone that allows you to still use that to buy things.
Absolutely.
Dang, bro. Oh my, I can see why this is such a big problem for the government.
Now, I do want to clarify a lot of, your cold wallet use case is definitely not for everyday use, right? You're not transferring back and forth on your cold wallet. Your cold wallet is where you're going to keep a lot of the funds that you would otherwise be keeping in your savings account, right? It's funds you're not going to be touching on a regular basis. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like the safety net. Like, this is my massive gold mine that I'm sitting on that I'm going to use one day, but I need to sit on this for a while. And then you just kind of transact with your hot wallet.
Exactly.
Okay, sick. Okay. And so Bitcoin is, I'd imagine, it's pretty much like the gold standard, like we were talking about, right? Mm-hmm. What are some of the other, I believe you referred to them as altcoins? What is an altcoin?
Yes. So basically, an altcoin, it's short for alternative coin, right? It's basically any other crypto that's not Bitcoin is an altcoin. Right? So you've got Ethereum, Solana, Dogecoin even, right? Some of these meme coins, these cute dog coins, whatever. Anything that's not Bitcoin is an altcoin. And that's usually, I don't sell any of my Bitcoin, right? I use it to buy things if I have the opportunity to contribute to the Bitcoin protocol to help kind of grow the network, right? But as far as trading and making money goes, this is where I use my altcoins to buy in and out and, put money into an altcoin. It goes up a little bit. I take those profits and put those profits into Bitcoin. Okay.
So you brought up a couple of things I wanted to touch on. So Bitcoin, there's only a certain amount of Bitcoin, right? That can be, are you able to mine Bitcoin?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can actually put more Bitcoin that doesn't exist right now into production. Mm-hmm. How the fuck do you do, what type of witchcraft and wizardry, how do you do something like that?
So a lot of people like to look at it different ways, right? Some people consider you're just converting your electricity into money, right? You're just using your electrical energy.
What? Hold on, wait. That reminds me of something like in the Matrix where you see Neo in that little chamber and the robots are literally sucking the... Can you explain that a little further?
So I might be getting a little too deep. I should have waited till we kind of got to this point. But if you're running a miner, right, and you're mining Bitcoin, you are producing Bitcoin. Your miner is running on electricity, right? So your electricity is running the miner, which is creating Bitcoin. And so, if you're paying 4 cents per kilowatt to run your miner, right, for electricity, and that's producing Bitcoin, you're converting your electricity to Bitcoin at 4 cents per kilowatt. Does that make sense a little bit?
I'm going to watch this back a couple of times until it does make sense. I'm going to tell you that much. So wow. So you basically, if you are smart enough, can almost have, like, you can just invent money is pretty much what I'm hearing. Like almost. That is insane. Okay. So why do you think only 5% of people are using Bitcoin?
I mean, a lot of people are still skeptical about it. A lot of people don't want to take the time to understand it, unfortunately. Because like I said, man, it's freedom money. And a lot of people don't even think about the fact that we are living in what could be considered the matrix, right? We are living in a system of control. The government, the financial system, the way it works is a Ponzi. And most people just operate on a day-to-day function that this is the way the economy works, this is the way the world works, and this is the way that I operate based on everything around me. And they don't question anything, right?
They're sheep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sheeple. Bitcoin is that alternative. It is that light at the end of the tunnel that breaks away from the norm. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, I mean, it just reminds me of the Matrix, right? It just reminds me of like somebody who's literally, you know, trapped in a world where they've accepted their reality. They go to work to pay bills, to go to work to pay bills, and they're comfortable with that. But we both know comfort's the opposite of achievement. And
Absolutely.
breaking out of that norm, like it's uncomfortable. It's not easy to understand this or take the time to really, you know, read a book or even, you know, watch the market go kind of up and down, right? That's not an easy thing. But do you kind of, you mentioned this earlier, you kind of compared yourself to Morpheus a couple of times.
Absolutely. I mean, if we are considering the way we live, in a sense, the Matrix, then yeah, I definitely consider myself like Morpheus. You know, I try and educate as many people, not even educate, I just try to expose as many people as I can to the concept of Bitcoin, right? And so I'm like Morpheus running around just as unplugging as many people as I can. I'm constantly, when I'm walking through the grocery store or something, I randomly am turning to people and shouting, you know, learn about Bitcoin, look into Bitcoin. And most of them look at me weird or they probably just shrug it off. But if I shout at maybe 10 people, hopefully one or two of those people will remember that some random guy said something about Bitcoin and they'll look it up and down the rabbit hole they go. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, that's a great example. And I know we were kind of discussing this earlier, but did you know that the actual person who wrote the Terminator movies and the Matrix is the exact same person? It was a black woman who's from Utah. And what are their name? The Kosowski brothers or sisters? I don't know what you refer to them as, depending on...
Yeah, so the Wachowski brothers, right?
Yeah.
They were brothers and then they
became something
converted
else.
over, which is, you know.
But I just think that whole concept is crazy because now we know AI is very prevalent. I use AI all the time. And this is just kind of like the natural next step of human evolution is converting, like you said, electricity into money and having that financial freedom. And so, okay, so we've covered step number 1, which is read the book. Step number 2 is to get your crypto wallet. What's step number 3?
Definitely understanding Bitcoin and knowing that that is the end all be all. Hold on for dear life, right? That's what HODL stands for. And also utilizing these altcoins to make profits to put into Bitcoin as you move forward down the road.
Okay, so how somebody would really take advantage of this is like you have a crypto wallet, right? Bitcoin is the end all goal. That's gold. And what I would do is I would go and I would watch Dogecoin or one of these meme coins and I'd wait for the market to dip. Like let's say it's at $5 and goes down to $2. So I'd buy a bunch of that coin, wait for it to go back up to like 6 or 7. I would sell that and then convert the difference into Bitcoin and then repeat the process.
Essentially, yeah.
Oh, wow. Geez. Okay. That is literally the keys to the kingdom right there, you guys. And so it's just about something where it's repetition creates excellence, right? If you're able to be committed to this and doing this over and over and over again, you're going to start to watch your Bitcoin wallet just go insane. And then you get a cold wallet where you store it at. Do you like recommend somebody get like a safety deposit box and keep that in like Fort Knox type of deal?
So not necessarily. If that makes you feel a little more comfortable, absolutely. But you really don't need to go to those lengths, right? These cold wallets are pretty secure themselves. I mean, the crypto isn't necessarily kept on the device itself. It's stored on the blockchain, and this device is just your key to the... I mean, it's almost like a digital safety deposit box itself on the blockchain, and these cold wallet devices are your key to that account or safety deposit box that's on the blockchain.
Really? So, I mean, do you, this might be a weird question, but do you ever see a time when it's like you need like a retinal scan or a fingerprint or like maybe like even a digital ID in order to access Bitcoin or anything like that?
So I definitely see something like that coming in the near future. I don't think it'll be necessary, like a requirement, but there will be platforms or areas where that will be, or I guess that will be a requirement depending on the platforms you're using. But with the current wallets that we have, it won't be. With the current wallets that we have, it won't be a prerequisite, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it kind of seems like not only is the government upset about Bitcoin, potentially, I don't know, but also bank robbers, because, you can't really steal somebody's Bitcoin, can you?
You can. Now, not the same way you would rob somebody today.
Oh, shit.
But there is, there have already been stories of people being held hostage for their seed phrase, which is like your password to your cold wallet account or your offline storage, right? Imagine somebody ties you up and has a gun to your head and says, give me your password, because they can't hack your online account. They could hack your account on Coinbase or something like that, which is why I recommend not to leave more than maybe 10% of your total crypto holdings on an online exchange.
So just diversify your assets. But what we talked about earlier, where the blockchain's anonymous, you can see people who have Bitcoin, but you don't know who they are. How would somebody even know that you have Bitcoin to hold you hostage?
So that's up to you, man. So there's plenty of Bitcoiners that walk around not advertising it, as opposed to myself, who walk around like, I wear this HODL hat everywhere I go, every single day. The front of my house has a big Bitcoin flag hanging on it, right? I have multiple types of hoodies like this. Like, I walk around, advertising
walking
that I'm
billboard.
a Bitcoin. Yeah, Bitcoiner. I'm a walking billboard. Absolutely, right? Because I'm proud of it. But that definitely puts me at risk to being wrench attacked, in a sense, right? Someone's going to come up behind me and crack me in the head, and I'm going to wake up in a trunk with somebody demanding my seed phrase or my password.
You can literally convert electricity into money that you can then live off of, which will help you escape this 9-to-5 grind hamster wheel that a lot of us, are kind of stuck in. Is there like a lot of rumors that this really might be just a huge government type of, or maybe even a rogue renegade agent who just decided, hey, I'm a hacker already and I'm just going to get rich?
Now that's something to think about, actually. But yes, there's plenty of speculation on the fact that this is not an anti-government revolution, right? That the government itself did create this, and we all think we're getting out of the matrix, sidestepping the government, but really they're just getting us in a bigger net and bringing us right back into it. And it totally could be true, right? Nothing's impossible, but there's no way to prove it or disprove it, and I myself firmly believe that that's not the case. But again, it's not impossible. The government, the CIA, NSA, somebody like that could have created it for all we know.
Yeah, because it would literally be the freaking bank heist of all human time, like, because Bitcoin is worth so much. And like you said, imagine if you got 5% of the world to put their money into something that one day you're just like, well, I'm buying the moon, right? It's like, but I also feel like there's a side of me that's very skeptical. I believe that we have to be skeptical of everything if we're to survive, right? You always be cautious, but at the same time, like I said, I heard about this in 2011, and I beat myself up every day that I didn't try at least a little bit harder to just get into it and learn like you did. But I'm glad you mentioned it's not too late. That gives me a lot of comfort, because I definitely plan on applying all of these strategies that you have kind of implemented for us. And so now, all right, so this guy has an Asian name that does not necessarily mean that he's Asian. It could literally be anyone. And earlier you had mentioned that there is the original wallet with the original transaction, right? And so is there any other information that you have about that? Or what's kind of like the Bitcoin community? What do they say about him? Is he like a superhero to them, or like?
Absolutely. So Satoshi, like I said, nobody knows if it's a single person, a single individual, or a group of individual coders that came together and created Bitcoin, right? And a lot of people speculate that there's a handful of these people. So this group of coders is referred to as the cypherpunks. And a lot of us think that it's one or two or even three of these cypherpunks that themselves could be Satoshi. But again, there's no way to prove or disprove whether one or the other.
Now, are these cyberpunks, are these well-known guys? Like, are they moving and grooving in the kind of community, or are they more like low-key? Do we not know who the cyberpunks are?
So, they were in the earlier years, but now, they're the older generation, like our parents, so they've kind of mellowed out. They're a little quieter. And
so like you could literally walk past one of these people on the street and have no idea they're probably a billionaire.
Absolutely.
That's the wildest part, because I like the crypto community, because there are some dudes in Miami who are super duper flashy with it and like you to know that they have Bitcoin, but there's also a lot of people who are like very, humble about it, right? And so in the crypto, because I'm used to the rap world where it's all like dog eat dog, who's got the better car, who's got the brand new Porsche. How is it in like the Bitcoin community? Do you guys all like support each other and like help each other? Or is it more like the rap world where it's kind of dog eat dog?
So it's a little of both, I guess. So for the most part, yeah, in the crypto world, a lot of people support each other. Nobody's trying to outdo the other one or act like we're better than one another, right? But it also, I wouldn't say anybody has anything to prove, but a lot of us have that point where when we kind of experience that first taste of wealth, I guess, especially if you came from no wealth, right? You have to.
You gotta stun a little bit, right?
A little bit, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I went through that phase. A lot of people, especially somebody that I met in mid 2017, is a multi-billionaire now, and he's got
Oh my God, the B. Oh.
the B, right? He's out in Dubai, and he's got a couple Rolls Royces. He's got the G-Wagon. He's got property in multiple countries, and
because this pretty much makes you like an international man of mystery. Because in Dubai, we know there's like rarely no tax. I think
None.
no income tax.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's like a Bitcoin. You call the Bitcoiner.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the haven. That's like the mecca of where you want to be at, right?
Absolutely, that's where a lot of Bitcoiners move to once they break that threshold of wealth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What is that threshold of wealth? By the way?
Definitely in the millions, for sure. It's
In the
not just
millions?
6 figures. You got to be 7 figures. I mean, you can with 6 figures, but once you break that 7-figure mark, it's definitely.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to be the poorest guy in Dubai, right? I mean, that would be tough, right? And you know what's crazy about Dubai that I love? I don't know if you've ever been, but over there, license plates are a big deal. So the closer you can get to the number, it's literally a number 1 on your license plate. It's kind of like the flex. Like dudes will literally go out and buy a car they never drive just to go get the license plate. Have you seen that before?
No, I actually did not know that. So
Yeah.
that'll be interesting to bring up with Chris.
Yeah. The license plates are the thing. And I like custom license plates too. That's like my little thing, but it's not really a big thing out here in America. But over there, bro, a dude rolls up with the number 1 license plate, which of course is only one of them. Like you will see women or people flock to his car to say, and I'm sure we can find out who has the number 1 license plate, but that's a fire thing. So in Dubai, are you able to kind of operate with Bitcoin a little bit easier? Like, is it easier to transact over there?
Yes, absolutely.
So not only do you live in a beautiful paradise, you have no sales tax, no income tax, none of that sort of stuff, and you get a ball out with Bitcoin. Is that kind of your ultimate goal as well?
Yeah. Ideally, once I can leave the country, I think Dubai is definitely or El Salvador. I don't know if you know about this.
Educate me, because that's not a place I hear people wanting to go to a lot these days. So
for the longest time, it wasn't, right? It was like a third world country, a lot of crime, a lot of risk, right? If
beautiful women, though.
That's the
women.
rumor.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, a couple years ago, Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, adopted the Bitcoin standard, and they became the first Bitcoin country. They have implemented it into their economy, and they've gone from a third world country to becoming I guess like a first world country, right? Their crime rate is down, lower than it's ever been, and it is crime rate is down, lower than it's ever been, and it is a primary destination for a lot of people now. It's becoming a
Bitcoin mecca.
Absolutely.
Holy shit. Okay, so here's something. So I'm somebody who I like to travel because the dollar, right? In other countries, it goes a lot further than it does here.
Definitely.
How does that work with Bitcoin in El Salvador? Does Bitcoin still get calculated no matter where you go in dollars? Or if I'm in El Salvador, is it in, I think their currency is what, pesos or something? I'm not sure. Yeah. Like, how does that whole thing work?
So it is. Globally, it is still priced or valued or calculated in US dollars.
Oh my God. So you have a billy in your Bitcoin wallet. You go to El Salvador, you're practically a trillionaire.
Practically, yeah.
Holy shit. Dude, that is okay. So, you are definitely giving me the play. Don't be surprised if y'all see me in Dubai, man. Don't be surprised if y'all see me and him out in El Salvador balling out. And just never say we didn't try to tell y'all, right? I'm still way, way behind this guy. In fact, I'm actually going to open my first crypto wallet tonight after this podcast. It's been so inspiring. But okay. So here's another thing I see on the internet. I know that we've seen influencers like Logan Paul, the freaking what's the spit on it girl, that blonde girl who did the spit on that thing.
Oh, the Hawk Tua
girl.
Hawk
Tua girl, right?
Yeah.
We've seen different scenarios where they put out a coin and then it's like people are saying that they scam like their fans and stuff. So you can literally go and invent your own coin.
Absolutely. Almost anybody can go and create their own crypto.
So we can have a CallATM coin.
Yeah, you definitely could.
Hey, man, listen, 50-50, we can go in on that shit right now, Playboy. I got this.
So it's tokenizing your business, which is going to be a big thing moving forward, right? Not just stocks. Any business can tokenize their company or their business, where almost anybody can invest in your business. But instead of investing in your business or buying a stock in your company, they can buy some of your crypto. And they own X amount of tokens or X amount of crypto, and that's them being invested in your company, right?
Holy shit. So is this something where, like, let's say I really wanted to take this serious and make a CallATM coin. Do I then need to get like 100 grand out, put it and make this coin to give it value? Or how does that work?
Yeah. You're going to want to give it, right? You'll need a market cap and X amount of coins, but it'll be up to you not to fall to the whims of inflation, right? You don't want to make too much of the coin so that it becomes essentially worthless because it's diluted because there's so much out there, right? Compared to how much money is into it. And so just like Bitcoin, there's a limited amount that can't be inflated. Nobody can create more of it, right? Not every crypto is like that. You can make more of it, but it'll be up to you not to overdo that, right?
So you want to have a finite amount of coin because that's what gives it value. And so is this a great way for, like, startup companies to seed their businesses is through
They could, yeah.
Why don't you see, I mean, maybe I'm just ignorant, but why don't you see more people doing that?
So I think it's just their lack of interest or understanding in crypto in general, but almost anybody can do it. Not almost anybody can do it, but yeah, I think a lot of people just don't understand it enough yet. But I think sooner than later, almost everybody's going to be trying to jump on the crypto train. Like you said, Logan Paul, the Hawk Tua girl,
yeah,
etc.
I mean, the Zootopia, though. I mean, this is no shade towards Logan Paul, but it's like, I mean, you could have seen that one coming, right? Like, that was a little bit wild. But yeah, I just see a lot, and I also know that the current administration, they have their own coin.
Yes. So
that is insane, because we all know Trump doesn't know shit about crypto. I mean, I was trying to teach my grandfather how to use an email the other day, and that was like, might as well have been teaching advanced, mathematics, right? Which is no shade, right? We grew up with kind of, email, but I still feel like super ignorant on this. So who do you think is running maybe the current administration's coin, or how do you think that's being operated? What insight do you have about that for people who want to buy in?
So honestly, I honestly don't pay, not that I don't pay too much attention to what's going on with the current administration, but I haven't cared to do too much research into that because I'm not invested in it, or really it doesn't affect me as much. But I know that Trump's sons are crypto heads to a degree, and I would imagine they're the ones that are running his crypto. Exposure. Yeah.
Okay. Because now that's separate from the United States government. That's a family. Is that a family owned or started kind of thing? Or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, you could say family, or it could just be, yeah, I guess it would be his family, right?
Because like our tax dollars are not going to starting.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So it's separate from the government.
It's not government funded or anything.
Okay.
Like that. It's his own side business or side project or something like that, for sure. It's not government funded.
I mean, that's fucking genius, bro. I hope my sons are freaking smart as hell like that, because that, like, it just seems like it's getting on a market trend. And the moment that I saw them do that, right, and I heard it out of his mouth, where I was like, okay, this is something I really need to look into. And that's why I was so excited to have you on. And we've been trying to schedule this for quite some time now, and it's just a miracle that it happened on the inception of Bitcoin, or Bitcoin's birthday, right? Which is sick. But okay, so altcoins. So the Crypto Zoo and the Hawk Tua Girl, those are both considered altcoins.
Yeah.
Why did people say that they got scammed, or what happened with that?
Because they got a term that a lot of people use is rug pulled, right? Everybody got in line, and then the creators, Logan Paul, Hawk Tuah Girl, yanked the rug out from them.
Allegedly, right?
Allegedly,
we still don't know. Yeah, allegedly.
Yeah, we don't know,
Yeah.
but it's most likely the case. But
yeah,
you create a coin, and all your fans and everybody come on and invest a little of their money. Now that money goes into your pocket, and you bounce on them, you know?
But when you say bounce on them, does that just mean like you just empty I'm trying to understand and conceptualize this for people. Like, so all the money, imagine that you have a pit here and they're throwing their money in there thinking that they're getting a coin from it. And then one day you have a withdrawal button that you can just hit and all that value.
You pocket all that money and take off. Now they got all that coin, but it's worthless now. You know what I mean? They still have those tokens.
But how is it worthless? Because I thought that the whole point of this was like if a Bitcoin's sitting on this table, right, it has no value. But if I take a half of it and you take half of it, now it has value because we both deem it as having value. And so if 50,000 people have it, now it has even more value because all of us think it has value. How do you devalue crypto just because you emptied the wallet out?
So they emptied the money out of that wallet, but those coins themselves are not deflationary, right? They can keep creating more, which is inflating it, devaluing it. Kind of like there was a great example somebody did where it's like he had like a cup of tea or a cup of soda, and if you just keep pouring water into it, and
it just dilutes.
It's diluted, right? They keep diluting the value, but Bitcoin itself can't be diluted because we can't create more of it.
See, that was going to be my next question for you. You got ahead of me. Okay,
Sorry,
no, you're good. So that's why Bitcoin is generally a safe investment. No financial advice given, but generally, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, that is sick, man. So do you think people like those people we mentioned kind of give this space maybe a bad name for people who are kind of on the more caution side of?
A little bit, yeah. But that's where kind of understanding the space and understanding Bitcoin itself is beneficial to you, where you're not going to get shook out of or discouraged from joining the space, because the more you understand something, the more you can maintain your own conviction regardless of what's going on around you.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Okay. Nice. Okay. Well, dude, that's freaking sick. So, all right. So we've covered step 1, step 2, and step 3. Now, step 4 would basically just be holding on to that Bitcoin for dear life and continuing to up your kind of quote unquote re-up, or actually we're going to use the word hodl, right? So you hodl your Bitcoin. What's like the overall goal for you?
So a lot of people ask me about 2032. It's a year that I reference a lot, which is 2 halving cycles away. And
time out. What is a halving cycle?
So every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin that gets produced is cut in half, right?
By who?
So this is something that Satoshi put into the code or the algorithm of Bitcoin. When Bitcoin was first created, every 10 minutes, so a new block is mined every 10 minutes. And
by who?
The miners.
It's like these are people that are just sitting there using the electricity to make more Bitcoin.
Yes.
But it's not one person.
No, it's everybody who uses Bitcoin. Your computer is contributing to the network's operation, right? And so if you have a large enough computer that's actually dedicated to hashing at the code, you're mining Bitcoin. And so every 10 minutes, a new block is mined. It's filled up with transactions, and then it's mined. And at first, every block produced 50 Bitcoin. 4 years later, that was cut in half to 25 Bitcoin.
Where'd the other 25 go?
So that's to maintain the limited amount of Bitcoin that's produced. Because remember, there's only going to be so many Bitcoin ever in existence. So this is to ensure that only so many Bitcoin are produced over a period of time, so that no matter how much computing power you have or how much money you have, nobody can come through and just buy up the remaining supply and take a controlling position of the network. The amount of Bitcoin that's produced is cut in half to ensure that the limited supply is going to take an extended period of time to be produced and put out into the economy.
So does that mean that if I have my stuff in a cold wallet, let's say I have let's say just easy math, I have $1 million in a cold wallet, that 4-year mark passes, do I now only have 500,000 in Bitcoin?
No. So that's what a lot of people think at first, right? Which is an honest misconception, but it's not actually cutting the value of Bitcoin in half. It's just cutting the amount of Bitcoin that is produced. Whoa, excuse me, sorry.
Yeah.
So it's it's not actually cutting the value of Bitcoin in half. It's actually just cutting the amount of Bitcoin that's produced and put out into the real world or the economy cut in half. Like I said, to ensure that the limited supply takes X amount of time to be put into the real world. I feel like I already said that, but
yeah, no, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's like you have like. I see why you need to read a book to understand this, because it can be pretty complicated. Most people think, hey, I work X amount of hours, I get paid X amount of dollars. That's just what it is, right? And I know what's coming. But with Bitcoin, I mean, I'd imagine that's pretty intense, seeing that the market gets cut in half. So for example, I remember when Bitcoin first hit 100,000. Right, that was like a big deal. But you're saying that was the first time that's ever happened, or has it done that before? And then 4 years it goes down, and then we have to wait for it to get back up, or?
Nope. That was the first time it's ever happened, just recently.
So every single 4 years, we're going to imagine it going bigger and bigger. And then the next milestone, is that 200,000 or is that 500,000?
No. So again, it has nothing to do with the dollar value. It's just to do with the supply.
Just okay. I'm still just trying to wrap my little noodle around this, man.
No worries. So it is put into the code, into the algorithm, that it is guaranteed to take until the year 2140. So 115 years from now, for the last Bitcoin to be produced, to be mined into existence.
Wait, one more time. Say that again.
So it is guaranteed to take until the year 2140 for the last Bitcoin to be mined into existence.
So what happens after 2040?
2140.
2140.
So 115 years from now, our great grandkids are going to be sitting around a digital fire in the metaverse, celebrating the last 0.0001 Bitcoin being mined. Because again, the halving cycle cuts every 4 years, cuts the amount of Bitcoin that's produced into existence in half.
So, I mean, but what do you think happens after that? Does the universe collapse on itself into a singularity?
Honestly, who can say, right? We're not going to be around to see it, but
I mean, there is some technology out right now where people are living longer than ever. And
this is true. Yeah. We might be around to see it. Who knows, right? We could be cryogenically frozen and decide to be
reawoken the day before that happens, which would be a crazy event. But okay, so all right, that's absolutely kind of wild. And so this person who invented this, or this group, they're kind of like the founding fathers of America, where they were able to kind of see in advance some of the loopholes that might hurt this software, because this was designed to help people escape the matrix, right?
Yes.
And so this might be a crazy question, and I'm not really into conspiracy theories, but the military has advanced technology 25 years statistically before we all get it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
We talk about this all the time. You think we got something and they just barely came up with it. If we got something, they were already doing it. Like
right.
You just said.
And so correct me if I'm wrong. So you mentioned that Bitcoin inception was around 2008, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then we're in 2025. Okay. So that's within that 25 kind of year market. And we're just getting used to AI now. What are the odds, or what do you think the probability is that this individual or group is actually an AI software who was just created in order to do something like this? I mean, as you're talking, it's just like sparking it in me, because I use ChatGPT all the time, and it literally probably knows more about me than I know about myself. But would that be shocking to you if that was the case?
It would not be shocking to me. I kind of hope that it's not the case, but I definitely would not be surprised, because I feel the same way. I definitely think along the same lines, and I would not be surprised, but I hope it's not the case. I hope there was somebody out there who somehow sidestepped this potential possibility and came up with something that they hadn't thought of. But anything's possible, and I know that is a high probability for sure. I
mean, AI is wild though, man. I mean, it's so much more advanced than we are, and we know that they're dripping it to us, bro. The thing that scares me is how realistic a lot of the movies we grew up on. I know we mentioned Terminator and The Matrix before, but bro, China has a software called Skynet, right? And why? Like, why? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's insane.
It's
like,
not for nothing.
Yeah, you can't walk in China anywhere without being on camera. They know where you are, when you left, what you ate, where you sleep, the hours you sleep. And like, we even know we get tracked on our phones, our sleep cycles, all sorts of crazy stuff. And so I was just thinking about it while you were talking. I was like, if this mega advanced AI, almost like the all be all of AI, was just like, how do we, the problem we see a lot of people being depressed is money. How do I do something to create money? And then it invents Bitcoin, and then it invents a pseudonym, and then it gives it to this group that you mentioned called the cyberpunks, or maybe they discovered it somewhere, because a lot of people used to use Bitcoin on like the Silk Road and stuff to get like kind of illegal stuff, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's initially how people were using it, was for on the Silk Road for illicit drugs and doing things that, it was essentially an eBay for illegal stuff. And then,
which that guy got a bad rap. I mean, that
he did, man.
That also scares me, because it's like, I want to be an inventor. I want to help people, kind of escape just how you do. But it's scary that you could create a platform, have literally nothing to do with what happens on your platform, and boom, now you're in a black site in Cuba for the rest of your life,
right,
without having due process.
Yeah, I'll try and be quick with this, but his name was Ross Ulbricht, and he created the Silk Road, and he was given 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole for creating the Silk Road, because people used it. Because again, it was a platform that allowed people to do anything. There was no limitations, no restrictions. You were allowed to do whatever you wanted, illegal or not. It was freedom, basically, without any restrictions, like I said. And he was held accountable for what his customers did. It was almost like if you
invented a car and somebody used that car to drive through a building, and then you get in trouble for...
Exactly. Yeah. If you were a drunk driver and killed somebody driving a Tesla, and they put Elon Musk in prison because you were driving a Tesla, right? Yes. He had nothing to do with it. Ross Ulbricht had nothing to do with the activity going on his website, but they gave him 2 life sentences. And, thank goodness, whether you like Trump or not, I don't have political preference, and I'm not here to talk politics, but he pardoned Ross Ulbricht not too long ago, which is good. But
which I honestly think is right. I'm also under the impression that Edward Snowden should be pardoned as well. Because
Wikipedia.
Yeah. I mean, it to me, it just feels like there are certain human beings in this world who money doesn't matter to them, power doesn't matter to them, and they genuinely put themselves in harm's way to save the rest of us. Maybe, I'm not sure how much you know about Snowden, but he was in the NSA, and he saw that we were being spied on after 9/11 when they were doing the whole Patriot Act, which literally not a lot of people maybe remember how it used to be flying on an airplane before the Patriot Act, but there wasn't a TSA. You could literally just get on a plane, which at a certain degree, I understand why that's safer for us. But at the same time, it took a lot of our freedoms away. America has not been the same since 9/11. So, yeah. And so just to kind of, touch up with you, I see that you have an Albert Einstein tattoo. What inspired that?
So, years ago, I was 19 years old. This was my very first tattoo I ever got. And I used to... there's a quote by Albert Einstein that says, "Imagination is more important than knowledge." Mm-hmm. And that's a quote that I used to reference a lot. And that's what I was going to get tattooed right here, was that quote. And the tattoo artist said, "You'll always know that quote. I don't know anybody who has actually an Einstein caricature. So how about I do that for you instead?" And so that's what I went with. That's how I ended up with it.
That's actually one of my idols, which from looking at me, you probably wouldn't know that, but I love learning about, he had a brilliant mind. In fact, I'm sure you know this, but when he discovered, his theory of relativity, he was actually on a train, and he was sitting there. He used to do these things called thought experiments, where it almost looked like he was sleeping, but he found that when he went into a certain state of mind, things would just, come to him. And that's where he discovered, E = MC squared and all of that stuff. And I understand that some of his, knowledge has been used for evil, like we all know, right? Just like, what's his name? When they created the nuclear bomb, like that wasn't what they wanted to do with it, right? But eventually, millions of people passed away from my favorite quote. What was his name, by the way?
Heisenberg?
No, it was the other one. They made a movie about him recently.
I can't think of it.
Yeah, fuck. It's gonna come to me as soon as we're done. I know it. But my favorite quote from that movie was, "Behold, I am, Shiva, or the destructor. Behold, I am death, the destroyer of worlds." When they launched the first nuke in New Mexico, and that's kind of something that has always kind of stuck with me, right? Because just like with Bitcoin, is there any way you can use this for the wrong reasons?
I want to say, I can't think of anything right now, which is unfortunate because I want to say that there is conversations that have been had about this, and I should know off the top of my head, like multiple references, and I really can't think of any right now.
It just seems almost like it's too good to be true, right? And like I said, I'm very skeptical. I always look for the fall traps, but having a bank account, is dangerous too, right? Because at any moment, you can get robbed, or they take fees from you and all sorts of different crap.
Absolutely.
And so that's just something to think about, food for thought for our audience to comment. And I'm sure people are going to have a lot of questions for you, because you get on social media and this is your bread and butter. You get on and teach people. Do you have like a course or something people can like, how do they get a hold of you and like become a part of your network?
In a sense, I mean, I'm mainly active on Instagram, which seems kind of silly, but I offer my time, and I don't want to say services because that sounds like a course or something like that, right? But I'm always available because I'm essentially retired, right? I have nothing but free time. And so I offer my availability to anybody who's interested or has questions to, help. To anybody who might have questions to help expand their exposure. And I never expect or ask for any type of payment or contribution financially, right? I feel like I've built my wealth, I've made my money in a sense, and anybody who wants to try and contribute anything financially, if they have any spare funds, I prefer them put it into their crypto wallet, their money, their Bitcoin, help build their position.
I mean, you're like a saint. Like you're like the male version of Mother Teresa at this point. That is insane. So you give out help just to because you're passionate about it.
Absolutely. I'm so passionate about it. I think everybody should at least be aware of Bitcoin in a sense, if not already be exposed to it. And so what do they call it? Like YouTubers, when you pay to have your comment highlighted so that you could,
Yeah. It's called a super chat.
Super chat, right? Yeah. So I would, if I was doing YouTube videos, I would not want anybody to pay for a super chat. If that's, you have $5 or $10 for a super chat, put that $5 or $10 into your crypto account for sure.
Wow. That's amazing. That's remarkable stuff. And so we're not going to give away your age or anything, but we're both in our 30s and you are completely retired. Yeah. So it is absolutely possible. And you've been investing in Bitcoin or participating since what, 2018?
2017.
So what, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. What is that? 9 years almost? That's insane. Or maybe my math is wrong. I hope. Let me count that again. 2018.
8 years.
8 years. Yeah. So you've been investing for 8 years now, and now you are completely retired. How long have you been retired for?
So I think the last time I actually had a regular day job was 2020, I guess.
So you did this in 2 freaking years.
Yeah. But, I was fortunate enough to get exposed to it early enough that I caught the bigger wave. Now it's a little slower for a lot of people. When I first started buying Bitcoin, it was below $3,000, right? And again, understanding it helped maintain my conviction to ride those ups and downs. I rode it up to $20,000 the first time it hit that level, but then I also held through the drop from 20,000 to 3,000, right? Which is super concerning. But when you understand it enough, you don't look at that as a loss. You look at that as an opportunity
to buy more,
to be able to accumulate more at a discount, as opposed to looking at it as you lost more money, right? Because you're buying more, because you know where it's going. And again, we're not actually buying Bitcoin. We're selling fiat. You're selling dollars for the new money. right?
It's a good way to understand it, man. Well, geez, holy cow. So, all right. So for people who are going to watch this and be extremely interested in what you have to offer, where can they find you at?
Like I said, man, I'm mostly active on Instagram.
What
right?
is your Instagram name?
So Lone Wolf Moon Boy, which seems kind of silly again, but that is my handle.
How did you come up with how did you come up with that?
So I'm pretty I move through the crypto space pretty solo. I mean, for the first few years, I was so compelled by Bitcoin and crypto. Everybody around me, I wouldn't say lost, but I've moved away from most of my friends and family because I was so adamant about it. And for the first few years, I was so excited and trying to tell everybody around me, my roommates and my best friends and family, like I said, you gotta look into this. You gotta find out about this. You gotta get involved in this. And they were all just like, yeah. And now that I've gotten to this level, I mean, they're still there, but they're not a part of my life as much as they were before. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of a solo mission for me. And Moon Boy, Bitcoin is going to the moon. As you get deeper into Bitcoin and crypto, you'll hear that phrase a lot, right? To the moon. And so that's kind of how it developed. It's the Lone Wolf Moon Boy. So
That's
again,
freaking...
it seems kind of silly, but
No, not at all. I mean, my name's Tay Crew. Some people think that's silly, but it has meaning to me, right? And so that's what makes something valuable. And like the information that you've given, the time that you've given, I mean, you probably made an extra 10 grand just while you've been sitting here with Bitcoin, but hey, it's fire, man. Like you've really helped me understand more about what Bitcoin is, how to get started and why it's important. And so I'm sure there's going to be people out there who feel the same way. We're going to rewatch this episode to try to get every little nugget and jewel that you dropped. Maybe it went over some of our heads the first time we watched it, but if you had to give your last piece of advice, how would you get somebody who's maybe on the edge for, maybe I want to do this, maybe it's BS. What advice would you give them to help pull them to being able to take that, red pill like they did in the Matrix and free themselves and take that first step?
At least take the time to understand it just a little bit, right? Just a little bit. Take a little bit of time. If you really don't understand it and you're a little bit skeptical or you're on the fence, understand it enough that you can actually confirm your skepticism. Because if you really don't understand it, right, then your skepticism is really irrelevant, right? If you can't explain why something might work, then your reason why it won't work is irrelevant, like I said.
Yeah. So it's just, go into it almost like to prove it wrong, and then you're going to find out very quickly that, oh my gosh, like this is a gold mine. This is an untapped oil well that continues to be mined every single day. And if I hold tight, one day, we can all be like, like you and have that financial freedom and live in Dubai with a lot of baddies and a number one license plate.
Exactly how I ended up down the rabbit hole. I orange pilled myself,
Yeah. Now, when you say orange, I remember the Matrix. It had a red and blue pill. What is orange pill?
So it's the same concept of the red pill, but Bitcoin is orange. And so instead of the red pill, it's the orange pill.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense because, at first I was like, I know I'm a little colorblind, but I'm almost positive it was a red pill in the Matrix. So orange pill, is that big in the crypto space? Like people would refer to it as taking the orange pill?
Absolutely. Now we still refer to people who are not involved or exposed to Bitcoin or anti-Bitcoin as blue pillars, right? But
okay.
Bitcoin is the orange pill. And again, man, just take a little bit of time to just understand it a little bit. And I promise it'll grab you to understanding it a little bit more and a little bit more. And if you really, don't want to change your life, don't want to be a part of this revolution, because it is a revolution and it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Just like the industrial revolution didn't happen overnight. This is a financial revolution and the world is changing. And again, you are ahead of 95% of the rest of the planet right now. You are not late. Forget about the price. Forget about 100,000. Just get a few sats. Start out small, just like putting change in a jar. You don't need to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can buy $10 worth and
you can get in for that low.
Absolutely. So, make it part of your I say this all the time. Whether you're doing $10 every time you get paid every other week, or $10 once a month when you pay your bills, whatever, just make it part of your finances, just like you're putting money into a savings account or something. You know what I mean?
Wow. Well, man, I really hope we have you back on, because this has been absolutely amazing. And I'm sure I'm going to need to watch this a couple of times to really digest everything you mentioned. I want to leave you guys with this message. The revolution is inevitable. You can either get with it or get left behind. As he mentioned, this is something that's going to happen. Me personally, and I'm not giving you any financial advice, but I'm going to dive in head deep into this, because going down the rabbit hole and just figuring out, what's possible has always been something that's important for me. I'm somebody who wants a big family, and I do not want to have to clock into a job. Luckily for me, I was in the music business, made some smart investments, but I might have to pull some of those into Bitcoin. But the revolution is inevitable. Like he mentioned, you have a blue pill, you have an orange pill. And if one of them gives you the opportunity to spend more time with your family, and the other one holds you as a slave in a job that's going absolutely nowhere, where your boss's boss is the only one getting rich, the choice is really yours. Which one are you going to take?
Hold on for dear life, because Bitcoin's going to have its ups and downs. Do not get shook, and you ride through the downs to get to the ups. It's as simple as that.